Hello, good evening, and welcome to Tier 4 of the Burger and Brewfest 2020 rankings. We are now into the top half of these burgers, which means most of these are going to have more good than bad, which is ideally where you want to be. They're also the burgers that sometimes just were good but not great. They needed something to elevate them up to that upper tier. Just a reminder, none of these restaurants are paying me for this or sponsoring me in any way. And we're going to dive right in. So let's start with Evu, or Evu, or Evo, or whatever the heck you want to call it. That place with the Italian food and the stuff. This was fun. I really enjoyed this burger. Chorizo is a tricky element. Because it's sausagey and has some fat in it, you might think that it would make a moist burger on its own, but it really doesn't. And if you're not careful, you will end up with a very dry patty. It's also got a very strong flavor, so it can overwhelm everything else. Evu fell into neither of those traps, so that's great. The patty, in fact, might have been the best thing on the bun, which, if you're making a burger, really is probably what you should be aiming for. We really enjoyed the patty. The romesco sauce, again, you're going to hear this in a minute on the next burger. Romesco was good, and the cheese worked well with it. But there wasn't a lot of cheese. That probably could have helped this burger out. The bun as well, brioche can tend to be a little flaky, which can be tasty, but in this case it was almost a little dry. And that could have been dangerous with the patty tending to dry with chorizo in it. Now, it wasn't, so in this case the bun didn't really damage the burger. But I felt like it needed to be mentioned. There was some weird texture to it that, while not wrong, felt a little off. What brings this burger down to this level is that it needed something memorable. There's a lot of burgers in this competition, even some a little lower down, like the hot sauce at Mill Street or the mushrooms at Chinched. They all had something memorable about them. The patty on this was the best thing, but it's not something that I'm going to remember 2-3 weeks down the line, 2-3 months down the line. So, good burger on every front, really, but nothing that pushed it above good. Alright, moving on. Hungry Heart. Another Manchego and Romesco burger. I'm not sure why that combo is the hot thing this year, but I am, as the young fellows say, here for it. Hungry Heart is only open during the day, so it's not a place we have got to before. We'd heard good things, but nobody that I know actually goes there for a burger, so who knew what to expect? This one worked. The romesco sauce in this case was more citrusy than at Evo, but it was still tasty. The thing that I had a problem with was they just took a spoon and went on the burger, and you just had this big blob of Manchego. Now, they served it open, so when you combined it, that theoretically should have spread the sauce out, and it did to a degree, but presentation-wise, it wasn't great to see. What I would tell you about this burger is, as tasty as it was, the key word here was needed more. It needed more crunch, it needed more body, it needed more cheese, it needed more burger. It was a pretty small patty. It was 5 ounces, which is about as small as any of these get. And who doesn't need more size and thickness? Good burger. The onions on it especially were really well done, and a potato bun. Who can argue with that? I do love me a good potato bun. But just more of everything would have definitely pushed this up. Exile is next. And Exile's had a good history of really good thematic burgers. And again, this year, they have a good thematic burger. This is my surprised face. It looks a lot like my ordering pizza face. Hi, Raina. This is really good. 8 ounces is a lot of meat. That's half a pound right there. And, it needed every ounce of it. It really did work here. This put you in the mind of eating a taco on a burger. They didn't go with a taco shell of any type for the bun, and that's probably a good thing. I can't see that working out. The lettuce was... Actually, we'll get back to the lettuce. The pico de gallo with corn in it, I loved it. It was so good. The only problem with it was I think they used some sort of taco seasoning, but it tasted like the stuff you get out of the old El Paso boxes, just straight out of a seasoning packet. Not my favorite flavor. Sarah likes it, and because I'm trying to balance out both of our opinions on these burgers, it does, after all, take two to tango. Hi, Allie. I'm going to let that one slide. But the corn was just great on here. The avocado mayo was a little in the background. Could have done with more of that flavor. The lettuce, though, like, it's iceberg, so it's flavorless. And there was so much of it. Why not shred it? If you're trying to give sort of a Mexican taco-y feel, shred the lettuce. Make it feel like you're eating a taco. I'm sure Abby agrees with me. She always wants to be eating tacos. I'm also not sure what made anyone want provolone on here instead of something like Monterey Jack as an actual Mexican-themed cheese. Provolone's fine, but I don't know, it just sort of didn't work with the cohesive theme, which is really what's bringing this burger down a notch. Next up is Celtic Hearth, or if you just want to pronounce everything wrong, Celtic Hearth. Big Macs are probably the most iconic of fast food burgers. That doesn't mean they're good. But if you tell someone you're eating a Big Mac, that means something. And this is a take on a Big Mac. It's sort of an elevated Big Mac. I really have to give them credit for this theme and sticking with the theme. You could argue that bacon doesn't go on a Big Mac, but, I mean, you can get a bacon Big Mac now, and who's going to argue about adding bacon? People who don't eat it. Shut up, Chris. The lettuce was even shredded to the point where it felt like a Big Mac, but the big deal here was they put it on a molasses bun, and that just, it added something to this burger that a lot of places forgot. The bun is part of the burger, and if you can put a flavor in your bun that works with the rest of it, you're going to get yourself ahead of places who just think, I'll shove it on a brioche or something and we're Gucci, as the kids say. There's more to it. The only issue is bread and butter pickles also carry some sweetness, and having those two together verged on too much sugar. I could have done with normal pickles instead. That would have definitely improved this for me. The biggest issue here was there was just too much slippage. The structural integrity was awful. I think the chef knew that was an issue, and they went with thinner patties, both to fit the Big Mac theme and also to try and mitigate that overloading of toppings somewhat, but he just fell short, and there was a lot of slippage there. Also, the special sauce, that is what makes a Big Mac, and it wasn't really special enough. It lacked something for me, so not sure how to feel about that one. It's like a cover version of a Big Mac where a band took it and did it in a slightly different style. And if you hadn't told me this was Moose, I never would have known. So the last one in this tier is a little difficult for me. We went back and forth on this and another burger, and I think ultimately we've come up with the right decision, despite our links to one of these restaurants. The next is Adelaide Oyster House. This was an interesting idea and a very funny theme, right? Which came first, chicken or the egg? And there was a lot here that worked really well. If you're going to take a big, hefty chunk of chicken breast, bread it and deep fry it, and it still is both crispy and moist and just yummy, love you, Katie, you're doing something right off the top. But then when you take queso, and I'm not talking about the old El Paso queso from a jar that's actually just a melted down plastic truck. This is legit homemade queso that was just velvety and smooth and unctuous, and I just put it directly in my face hole. So good. It coated everything on there and yet didn't make it soggy. Just, I don't know how you do that. There must be some sort of wizardry at work here. But not only was it velvety and smooth, it was like drinking a hot toddy in that it warmed you going down, and it had a little bit of a kick from the jalapeno, but not to the point where it was hot. It was just, God, I could sit down and drink it with a straw if it would come through a straw. The problem, though, was two of them. The dill seasoning, or the dill barbecue seasoning in the fried chicken did not come through for me. the pickles and the shallot rings on there did give a dill flavor, but the chicken on its own didn't carry that flavor, and I missed that on the burger. The other big issue was, though, the egg just did nothing for this. Now, no, I'm not a fan of eggs, but Sarah doesn't mind them, and she agreed on this, that the egg just, it added nothing, and if you can just take an element off a burger and have it be either the same or better, it probably doesn't belong on there. I could argue that the mustard wasn't evenly applied, but that's so easy to fix and might just have been that I got unlucky. I can't really hold that against the burger. So, that is Tier 4. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay in your damn house. Wash your hands, maintain physical distancing, flatten the curve. Love you all. We will be back tomorrow morning with Tier 3 as we get into the real true star performers. See you soon.